The other day I got out the shower and I bent down and reached for a towel and I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Shot through my chest and up around my back, down my spine. And I thought, oh Lord, I thought I was dying. And I bent over and looked and I was standing on my own titty.
Ride it like a rodeo.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that park safari that had to euthanize all the zebras?
No.
Yeah, one of them bit a little kid on the penis.
To be honest, I've been fucking just so depressed and down with all the Israel-Palestine news lately. Like that's what. I love to hear about sad zebra penis biting, even though it ended with lots of euthanasia. But you know that's a lot happier than what's going on right now in other places. So tell me more.
Well, hang on, Rory. Total fiction.
Oh,
I made it up.
Oh, I was gonna say, how would I have missed that?
Because I didn't think you were going to launch into Israel when I was like, a zebra bit a little boy on the penis.
I got to keep things depressing. That's my modus operandi on this show now. Is you're like, hey, did you hear about the clowns giving out free balloons out at the park? And I'm like, no, I was too busy when that radio station got bombed. And you're like, oh no, yeah. That's the back and forth now.
Should we take a strong pro-Israel stance on the show, do you think?
No.
Like Andrew Yang before us?
I don't think I want to do that right now.
Listen, if you don't support the IDF, then you don't support freedom.
It was like, I think it was yesterday. And again, we record on Saturday. But I think yesterday it was Israel. It was sometime during the night. And, you know, the hour difference evades me between here and there. But they they leveled the building that Al Jazeera is reporting out in Palestine. They killed a bunch of reporters and leveled that shit to the ground. It was Al Jazeera, and it was a bunch of other news stations. War crimes. 100% war crimes.
100%. I mean, is anyone surprised that the Israelis are fucking scumbags and we support them?
You know why we support them? Because they're
our foothold in the Middle East.
Well, they're our foothold in the Middle East, and 70% of their exports come to us. And their exports are like medical technology and various other, it's all very high technology based. Like, you look at what Palestine exports, it's like concrete and like construction materials and iron ores and that stuff. And then Israel has way better development, and they're like exporting like technology and like things that benefit someplace like the United States. You know who the number one buyer of exports from Palestine is, though? Israel. So there's a little bit of a weird thing going on. We're like, hey, after you destroy that news station, we'll give you the materials to build it back up, even though you're going to force out all of our people.
Right.
So it's a weird conflict of interest. It's a fun little thing.
We should start sending the Israelis rockets full of gummy bears.
You imagine? Yay! Today, a gummy bear explosion over the...
There was finally peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I got the green one, my favorite. I don't know why they're Transylvanian.
Well, it's probably more appropriate than trying anything else.
I love the gummy bears, blah.
Yeah, we know a lot about what's going on over there, clearly.
Absolutely.
It was just crazy. That's been in the news the whole time. Like, that's where I've been, like, it's that, and my brain is full of that and Hellraiser stuff because we watched that terrible fucking movie.
Can I just say, the biggest compliment anyone has paid me in the last year was when the little girls were running through hell and it's just like faces being ripped off and nipple torture and all that.
Yep.
You just looked at me and went, I think you'd be really psyched if you found yourself there.
Yeah.
You'd thrive.
You'd be like there with the camera and like the goofy ears like you're in Disneyland. Like, oh, look at that, taking pictures.
Look at
They'd
this.
Be like, we're here to torture you, Alex.
I have such sights to show you.
I wish to taste of your flesh. You'd be like, okay, like take some off the ass. You know, I feel like that's the good me. Like, I feel like you're not understanding this, but you'd be that guy who gets led in front of the Leviathan, and they're like, this is what you wanted to see. And they like push you into the thing.
And to think I hesitated.
Yeah, they turn you into the Cenobite and all like the tubes, and they suck your blood out. They put the blue goop into you. Although I'm trying to like decide like what your thing would be. Like, I think it'd just be like a lot of like Hello Kitty tattoos and stuff. Like, oh, you come out the other end. And
I'm just a little girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little girl in a little leather apron.
Well, I tell you, at the end of Hellraiser 2, the biggest surprise was one of the Cenobites is like a little kid.
Chatterbox was a little kid. I never knew that. I've seen that movie.
I'm like, how do you become a Cenobite as a child? Like, what was that kid doing? That's what I wanted.
Who left him alone with the lament configuration? I know way too much about these movies.
Well, that's the thing that opens the portal to hell. It's been making me think a lot about multidimensionalism and the concept of infinity, which is really like stuff we haven't proven yet, obviously, but mathematically it's super interesting to think about. It's the notion that if the universe is truly infinite, then somewhere out there, like there's another version of us doing the exact same podcast, talking about the exact same thing at the exact same time, but also 10 minutes into the future and 10 minutes into the past, and all these weird, subtle permutations. So when I see stories about, like, we opened the portal to hell, I just think about it in terms of, like, multidimensionalism. Somewhere out there, there is a universe that is hell, or there is
it's like an event horizon. It wasn't necessarily the Judeo-Christian hell.
Sure.
It was just another a dimension of suffering, untold suffering.
Exactly. It's just that thing. And I really love the argument that Event Horizon is showing hell from the Warhammer video game. Well, it's not a video game, but it's like a tabletop game.
Already lost me.
It's like these orcs, and they exist because they're it's all really convoluted, but if you check it out, for some reason Event Horizon ties into the Warhammer series for some people. Real fun K-hole to go down.
Yeah, it sounds really fun.
It is. I promise. Go look.
Your promises mean jack shit to me.
Well, I know. That's fine. You Hello Kitty Cenobite.
Yeah. Actually, I think I riffed on it when we were watching the movie. I was like, it'd be really funny if Rory got turned into a Cenobite, but he just has to carry his dick around in a jar.
Just really Moby.
You just drop it and step on your own dick. It's flopping like a fish, and you squish it.
Well, I don't understand why this is scary for people. I'd be the Cenobite you see who like shows up through the portal, and they're like, I'm not gonna follow you, man. Like, again,
don't you work at GameStop?
We watched not even. We watched The Doctor, and he's seduced by the woman with no skin, and he's trying to help her get skin so she can become beautiful. He's making out with her bloody face and shit. And you're sitting there going, I see the incentive from him. He was corrupted by that, plus the allure of seeing the world that he's been trying to see. You know, he wants to go see the realm beyond the earth, blah, blah, and all that shit. And I sit there and go, what would my incentive be with my penis jar? Like, what am I trying to, like, you too can have your genitalia conveniently pickled. And they're like, I think I'm going to pass. No! And I, like, disappear.
We were so close.
Yeah. I just go back, like, hey guys, can we talk about this? Like, maybe I can go through the machine again and like get a different power, or I can get like the worm attachment on my brain or something.
And none of them make sense at all. Like, why did a little kid turn into Chatterbox? Why? I mean, a big fat guy turn into Butterball. That made sense.
I love that you know the names too. It's
I
great.
do. I just didn't remember the woman's name. It's like Angelica or something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's that one that's got like the little piercings in her cheeks and stuff. And I thought that was funny because
it's like Angelica or something.
That's what happens when you're trying to tune a guitar too much and the string comes up and whips you in the face. So I'd like to think she was a musician somewhere. It's like, oh, damn it. Oh, it's stuck into me. Cenobite.
She never got transformed. She's just a suicide girl.
Yeah.
She's got the little throat opening thing. Her little throat vagina that she's got going on.
This is just makeup. Don't tell them.
Listen, when the doctor made out with the skinless woman. Gross, but also think about it. It's like if you think that love is like going down on someone when they're on their period, he did that like times 1,000.
Love is kissing a girl with no lips.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's kissing a skinless woman who's got suppurating sores all over her body.
Was that Walt Whitman? That's lovely.
Yes. Actually, it was H.H. Holmes, The Murder House.
I watched a thing on that the other day. That's some fucked up stuff.
Yeah.
I love that there was somebody, I think they tried to tie him as also being Jack the Ripper or something. I was like, that seems like horse shit.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
It was the same thing. There was they did a documentary on Son of Sam, and they were trying to suggest that there were other people involved. It's actually really interesting because when you look at the artist renderings that the police sketch artist did of the guy who was committing the murders, it looks a lot like the son of his neighbor, Sam something. But his neighbor was Sam so-and-so, and he used to hang out with his son, who was the son of Sam, who looked exactly like the fucking sketches. So there's that really eerie, like, and they're all dead. Like, they all died mysterious, weird circumstance, like hundreds of miles away from New York in like random fucking cabins and shit. And you're like, oh, that seems like somebody tying up their loose ends, which is a little weird. So it's really fascinating. But eventually they get into like, was it a cult? Was there a cult going on in, Gramercy Park and the blah, like, and just all this weird shit. And they go too far with it.
Well, people just want a wider conspiracy. Like, people
Sure.
really want to believe that Room 237 documentary about The Shining. All these different theories. Like, everyone has a different theory about what it's about.
Lazy.
It was chintzy. It didn't do what it wanted to do.
Well, the coolest thing about that too is the way they're like, Kubrick designed the inside of the hotel to not make sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can see how through the architecture he builds, eventually you end up in one of these offices and there's this window that couldn't exist because it's on the inside of the building, but it looks out, and all these like weird, cool things that he did with that fucking with the architecture.
And like the patterns in the carpet and everything.
Sure.
People see spaceships, but I'm like, I think that's more spatial distortion so that you never get a sense of the geography, which if you put yourself in it and you're the little kid or you're Shelley Duvall, it's terrifying. How do you find your way out of the labyrinth?
Exactly. It's that discomforting kind of architecture. That stuff was fascinating. But then they're like, and notice this banana sticker on the wall and what that means. And notice how in this next scene it's in a different place. Wonder why that is. Kubrick's not the sort of person to not do this purposefully. So let's talk about the meaning of the sticker. And you're like, come on, guys. Like, there's so much shit to explore with Kubrick's work. Like, why not?
I would just be more interested in a behind the scenes, which I don't think Kubrick would have necessarily been super down with.
Sure.
I mean, there is footage, but I'd just be way more interested in like behind the scenes documentary of The Shining, to make it like what Coppola did with it's not Reign of Madness because that's Tropic Thunder. Days of Hell or whatever the fuck it was, the behind the scenes of Apocalypse Now.
Heart of Darkness, Hearts of Darkness, something like that. Yeah, that one was really cool. Well, it's also really interesting the way they they had such a hard fucking time with the shoot and how much over budget they were. Then Brando shows up and he's overweight and bald.
Martin Sheen had a fucking heart attack in the middle of the jungle.
Yes. And there's also that early shot where he is in the hotel room. They got him hammered for it.
Oh, yeah.
He really did get hammered. He really did smash his hand on that mirror and was bleeding all over the place. And they wanted to stop filming. And he was like, no, I'm going to keep going. And he got all mad. And they finished the shot. And it was a good shot.
How many men had I already killed?
But yeah, and then you sit in there and they do that plantation scene that only makes it into like certain versions
in the Redux.
of it. Oh, it's so bad.
It's stupid. It's useless.
Well, and don't get me wrong. It's an interesting commentary on the Vietnam War and the French occupation and colonialism, but none of that comes across in it at all. It's just weird rich people living in the jungle, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. It's just not. Yeah.
I really wanted to see them do some sort of retrospective Eyes Wide Shut. I think that's fascinating more than anything. It's just so much like random numerology in there and like Illuminati information that really does tie into a lot of the weird conspiracy theory, but also seems like it was very purposeful. And, there's all those theories of like that's what led to Kubrick's death was because he was letting society in on Illuminati ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that like sometimes it can be just normal people, like this high level doctor who's this,
Well, it's that line that what's his name, Sidney Pollack has when he's playing the doctor, Zimmer or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you've been jerking yourself off to this fantasy that woman died for you, but you have no idea what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Go home and forget what you saw.
Exactly.
Return to your life. There's a ton going on in that movie, but I also don't think it's as as obscure as people think it is.
No, it's really not.
I mean, you get a read on the movie if you just try hard enough.
You really got to pay attention to again, I think the whole movie comes together. And if you haven't seen it, these are all spoilies, but you should have seen Eyes Wide Shut by now. If you haven't, go back and check it out. It's a really weird movie because it starts with, it's Nicole Kidman, right?
Yes.
It's Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. And basically they have a really fucked up, weird marriage. And Tom's
just
having
like in real life.
Yeah, he's having himself a hell of a day where he's just like really down and out because his wife is saying these honestly really weird fucking things to him. And
well, first of all, they get high and they smoke like the most minimal amount of grass and they turn into like slobbering
Loons.
cocaine addicts.
Yeah.
And she starts talking about some dream she had about fucking a sailor.
Yeah, and she woke up just laughing and laughing and laughing. And you're sitting there being like, my wife is crazy. Like just that whole line, I sit there and go, you're really painting a picture of this character as being fucked up. And then you got Tom Cruise, and he just wants to go to a fucking party, but you got to wear a mask.
Well, he wants to bone, too, because his wife's put it in his head like, oh.
This is okay.
Infidelity.
Yeah.
I mean, the password being Rainbow Fidelio. People are probably listening to this and they're like, why aren't you talking about pussy?
Yeah. We're on a real weird tangent. It's just fascinating. My favorite shot is when he comes in to the room and they're all standing in their various families. That's such a great shot because you sit there and go, oh, that's a family of people. They're all wearing this type of mask. And these guys got the kabuki masks on and da-da-da. And then the two main people, they've got those gothic masks on that really feel like something out of fucking Amadeus. And they're all just like, we knew you didn't belong from the start.
When they all just turn and look, I'm like,
yeah. Oh, boy.
That is fucking cool.
Yeah. And he just keeps trying to get to the bottom of it, and they just keep, like, telling him to just fuck off.
Go home. Forget all the CGI boners that you saw here and go home.
Yeah.
You know what I really wish they would do?
What?
Is go back and re-edit Apocalypse Now, the scene where they slaughter the water buffalo and just replace the buffalo with Lena Dunham.
You really got a thing out for Lena Dunham. Don't get me wrong.
I fucking hate her, dude.
I'm not a big fan of her either. I was really after that whole... she was trying to fuck, was it a basketball player or someone?
It was Odell Beckham Jr., former Giants wide receiver.
And she tried to put him on blast by being like, this is ridiculous. And he was like, no, don't you get your own rhetoric? I can say no if I want to. How dare you try to shame me for having agency? And it just blew up in her fucking face.
And she said a bunch of racist shit. She was like, you're black. You should like fat white girls.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like, I don't think you you don't seem like you have the right handle here on the stuff you're preaching.
Wrong white fat girl, to be frank.
Yeah. Well, she was fucking obnoxious. I'd be like, what about your personality? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. So trust me, I'm not on the Lena Dunham train either.
I think you are.
I'm not.
I think you're a Lena Dunham apologist, and you came out on the show.
We call ourselves Dunners, Lena Dunners.
Been there, done them.
Which sounds a little bit ironic, considering you would think Dunners is like we want her to be done. No. It's just a play on words for her name, and we're not that clever.
And it's very close to dinners, which she has 3 of every day.
That's a great. Come on down to Lena Dinners. It's just like an all dinner restaurant.
Oh God, can you imagine?
We serve
the
food by
she'd
the
serve?
pound. I don't know.
It's microwave ramen with cream cheese in it.
I feel like there'd be a lot of quinoa and random things.
You think Lena Dunham eats quinoa?
No, I'm saying it'd be a projection. Like
if it's a quinoa pizza, maybe.
Come on, Lena Dunham opens a restaurant. It's going to be health food. It doesn't have anything to do with what her diet's like. And again, I see it's just a big picture of her, and it's one of those like really old school signs where it's a picture of her face, and her head's kind of wagging back and forth, and she's like,
Or it's just like the Bob's Big Boy donut, where it's just Lena Dunham holding up a donut the size of a truck tire.
I mean, that'd be fantastic.
They're vegan donuts. Wink, wink.
I would probably go there once, but I don't know if I would eat there.
Listen, I don't want to fucking fat shame and body shame here, but I have to.
But you're going to.
And listen,
it's too late now.
Listen. I represent a special interest group, which is chubby chasers.
Now, everyone, watch as Koch digs his hole here.
I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm building a mound.
Totally.
Which becomes a platform.
I'm going to pretend to agree with you because I want to see you do it.
Yeah, no, it's a mound of dirt that I stand on while I tell the big women of the world, I love you. I love you all.
Can't even afford a soapbox.
But if you make me mad, I will shit on you for the way you look. And I think that's fair. Yeah. I think I've earned that right.
I don't even... You can do what you want.
I pulled it off for you. You have to admit.
No, I don't.
Total fiction.
I don't think I have to. Not this time.
I wish you would.
Good times.
You know what I think about a lot?
What?
One of my favorite movies is The Nutty Professor 2, The Klumps.
Really?
And I unironically love that movie.
One of your favorite movies.
It is one of my favorite movies.
Not even Nutty Professor 1.
I enjoy that a lot.
But it doesn't make the
But when
list.
they were like, The Klumps, young me went, oh, they took the best part of the first movie and made it the whole plot of the second one? Take my mom's money. And I love the scene where, for those that are not familiar, Sherman Klump is a big feller, portrayed by Eddie Murphy in a fat suit.
Who would have thought the name Klump would have been?
It's so perfect. Like, why don't you just call him Fudge?
It's straight out of the 2000s.
It's fantastic.
It's like right in the middle of all the Not Another movies.
When respect for fat people was at an all-time low. You had Fat Bastard. You had the Klumps.
It was people being able to like laugh at people.
You had Tyra Banks in her very obvious fat suit being like, it was hard to be fat for 2 hours.
Yeah, I wish I could say that this was about like creating normalcy, but we know it wasn't.
It was not at all about normalizing.
It was not about like laughing at ourselves. It was about laughing at people.
I was way more attracted to fat Tyra Banks. I mean, her makeup was dog shit and her outfit was hilarious.
I'm not going to lie. It was, I lost, probably with a lot of people. It was when she does like, you don't know what my life is like. And she did that whole thing. I'm like, Tyra, wake the fuck up. You've got a TV show. I'm sure it's stressful, but guess what? There's not a single fucking person on the planet who, if you sat there and went, you're going to get $1 million+ this year to do whatever. It could be shoveling shit into your mouth. People will do that for a year for financial independence. Don't tell me that your life is harder than the people who came on your show as contestants.
Yeah, listen, lady, I am shooting heroin into the vein under my dick. I don't feel bad for you.
You got to go with the big toes. It's just, it's this, and again, it reminds me so much of all of the people during the pandemic, like Ellen, who are like, it's like being in prison in my multi-million-dollar mansion with my pool. I feel weird going outside to go for a swim because I have to check my own pH balance now. And you're like, fuck you in your fucking face.
Yeah.
If you don't feel that way, fuck off.
So the Klumps. We're getting off the Klump track.
What a shame.
But for those who don't remember, so after the first one, when Sherman Klump got all hot and became Buddy Love, he developed 2 separate personalities.
Hot Eddie Murphy.
Hot Eddie Murphy. You would, and you know you would.
Depends on how many I've had.
He's a chocolatey dream. And he creates the Buddy Love personality, and then it starts like popping up in his life and fucking with him. He's like, I need to isolate and extract the Buddy Love gene. But in doing so, it affects his intellect, which is the thing that made Janet Jackson fall in love with him in the first place. What happened to Jada Pinkett from the first movie? He probably ate her or crushed her to death during sex.
That's true.
That is neither here nor there.
That is a big plot hole. That's a really good point. What happened?
I think they just couldn't get her back.
Yeah,
I think she was like, I'm not doing the Klumps.
It was like if they tried to make any more Charlie's Angels and you had Bill Murray being like, I don't want to work with Lucy Liu anymore.
Yeah, and then you get, was it Cedric the Entertainer that took? Oh, yes. Bernie Mac.
It was Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
May he rest in peace.
Oh, yeah, Cedric's still around.
Yeah. Bernie Mac.
Not a good look for me confusing those two. Anyway.
Great.
So Buddy Love gets extracted. Now Sherman's losing his intelligence, which is his greatest asset. And he fucks up a big demonstration for a pharmaceutical company because he thinks he's found the fountain of youth. And in fact, he has, because his dad takes it and goes out and tries to fuck some skank.
Tale as old as time.
So he is doing this demonstration, and he gives the formula to a hamster, which turns into a monster and
sexy hamster
rapes the dean of the college. But when you think about it, man, it raped the dean. And my question, something I think about a lot, this is what we've been building to. Okay. Do you think the hamster finished inside him?
Probably. That's a primal thing. Let's be honest. Animals don't finish until they're done.
How long does a hamster last?
Yeah, we're going to have to do some science.
Is that hamster a 60-minute man?
I don't know.
Like Ric Flair?
I mean, you figure, like, what is it? Like, fuck like rabbits, you know?
Uh-huh.
And all that. Those little, like, kind of like rodent-y style. Like, I feel like they're all go, you know?
Uh-huh.
They're using that energy to just bam, 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 bam.
But do you think they ever get stuck in their own head? They're like, I feel fat. And
I don't think
they
so.
Can't come.
I think it's all drive. Is that primal thing. They just go for it.
Good for them.
You know?
Quite
yeah,
frankly.
good for them. They get all that stuff out of the way. You know, is this fair to Julia?
There's
and
no
all those
foreplay.
things.
You just bite the lady rabbit on the back of the neck.
Yeah, and she knows. She knows what's going on.
She's like, oh, game time.
Yep.
Saddle up. Or do you think the hamster, like midway through fucking, started to transform back and got sucked up into the dean's ass? A little Richard Gere style.
I don't think that's how it would work. I mean, you'd really have to have one hell of a vacuum for that to happen.
But if the hamster's mid-thrust and all of a sudden it turns small again, do you think it would get sucked up the ass?
I mean, let's be honest. I really think that depends on the proportionality of the hamster's penis to its overall size.
That's a fair point.
You know what I'm saying?
The dimensions of the hamster penis.
I feel like that's really important.
What does a hamster penis look like?
I don't know. The only one that comes to mind is I know ducks have a corkscrew penis.
Yeah.
And you got kitties with a little barb penis.
Cats have a barb penis. Dogs have a red rocket. What does a hamster penis look like?
You're going to have to do the science on that one, man.
I'm looking it up right now.
You're looking up hamster penis?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all know turtles have penises that are the length of their body.
Oh, my God. They look like a gramophone, and they just vomit cum.
Oh,
Have you seen that video?
No, and I don't think I shall be looking for it.
A tortoise's huge gramophone cock comes out, and everyone's like, weird, what's it doing? And it just, pachoo, just sneezes a bunch of milk.
Worst day for that teacher ever.
Oh, awful. This is a very sick turtle.
The kindergarten class had a lot of questions after that.
Oh, hamsters unsurprisingly have tiny little micro dicks.
Of course they do. So I think, like, again, I don't think that's what happened, is what I'm trying to say.
Look at how teeny tiny that is.
I didn't need to see that.
It's like a nipple.
But I'll tell you, the folks at home, it is. In fact, you don't need to look this up, except for those of you who already have because you were curious. You're seeing the same thing we are.
Wow, look at the balls on that hamster, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Holy shit.
I don't need to see these things anymore. Stop
Oh
it.
my God, that hamster's got he's packing some heat.
I don't need to know that. I don't need to know about this.
I can't tell the difference between the vagina and the penis on hamsters.
Of course not. I think that's probably for the best. Stop showing me these images.
But
Stop it.
the hamster in the Klumps turned into a monster, right?
Yeah.
And like did not look like a regular hamster.
Okay, but did the rest of his body become disfigured in proportion?
He became a disproportionate hamster monster. Do you think
No.
his hamster dick grew?
No.
You think he still had a button dick?
Yeah, probably.
But it's still large enough that I think the Dean probably
it was
wrote the
large.
lightning.
Well, it was large enough for it to happen. Why else would they include that in the movie if they hadn't looked at the science? Obviously, we all know that the Klumps was very scientifically
Neil
accurate.
deGrasse Tyson on the set being like,
yes. Actually, this is very interesting. Astrophysics tells us
that a hamster mid-transformation can be sucked up an ass.
well, we have to think about multidimensionalism and infinity. Tying it back.
Well, and to my point, when you watch like Sherman Klump transforming in the first one, he like bubbles out and he like turns into goo and everything like really quickly expands and
Gets the tummy
contracts.
in, yep.
So if he's got the hamster dick in the Dean's ass, I can't believe we're talking about this.
You're the one who brought it up. This is your fault.
I'm not on trial here.
Yes,
the
you
hamster
are.
dick is in there and all of a sudden it like expands and contracts aggressively. Do you think the force with the suction of the anus is enough to suck the hamster up the Dean's asshole?
Again, I'm still hard no on this.
That's fair. I'm not taking a position. I'm just asking questions.
I know you are. I was more interested in the notion of being like somewhere in the universe, the Klumps is happening right now.
Yeah. And somewhere in the universe, I'm the Klumps.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Somewhere I'm the Klumps. You at home? Somewhere you're the Klumps.
I think we're all the Klumps.
Yeah. This one's true. I don't know. It really depends on if that math is right or not. One day we find out like, nope, this is the only universe. It does have an ending. We found we're inside of a giant dome. There are no other dimensions, and when you die, there's nothing. Okay, thank you. It's perfect. We figured that all out. That'd make me kind of sad. I mean, at the same time, there's no Hellraiser, but then there's also no me Klump. Actually, you know what? That's not true, because just because the universe isn't infinite doesn't mean that some of that isn't contained within the universe. There's still a little hope, folks. I might not be a Klump, but maybe someone out there is a Klump.
Listen, I was really scared when we started this episode. We immediately went into the Israel-Palestine stuff.
Don't bring us back.
I'm really glad we transitioned to a giant hamster raping a man.
Yeah, something much more our speed. Boy,
this is so respectable.
That lets me know where we've gotten in our 100+ episodes. We've really honed in our craft here.
We just
so
keep getting
good.
better and better, quite frankly.
Keep getting better and better. Oh, you know what? I before I forget, I do want to give a shout out. We went to a great show last night. You were involved a little bit. I just want to give that shout out for everybody listening. Because there's going to be some more shows coming up if you happen to be in the New England area. There's this great band called Laser Dad. Spelled the cool way, Laser Dad. If I have to tell you what that is, then you're not cool. But you should go find them online. They're a great band. They do 90s cover music. Really good time. Just kind of get out, bring your friends. Sometimes a little bit of dancing. Sometimes only a couple people in the audience dance. Don't join them. It's weird.
You will get sucked into their sex cult.
You will get sucked into the sex cult. They're regulars. But it's a good time. I forgot to grab a t-shirt. Really bummed out. Going to try and get me one of those so I can rep the band. Really fun time. A lot of fun people. So if you happen to be looking for shows as the world opens up out of COVID, go check them out. They're a lot of fun.
I was just inhaled my own lung.
Looked like you were trying to suck in a bird.
Woo! I got a chickadee up my nose. Laser Dad, great friend of the pod, Andy.
Yeah.
Who is a diehard listener, as he told us last night.
Loves to listen to it on his commute into. Don't crash, Andy.
I told him, I was like, I can't believe you haven't willfully crashed your car.
Yeah. Every now and then he's listening. Like maybe the earlier conversation about the Klumps, he was just like, I can just whip into this guardrail. I can whip right into it. No one's gonna know the difference.
He's like, if this is what I consider entertainment, I'm gonna spare my fiance a lot of pain.
Well, it was one of those things. It's always good to know who the audience is sometimes, because like I said, every now and then we get these weird spikes in viewership, and I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Because like we can count the people that we know, and there's quite a few of you out there that we know who you are. And then there's just this handful of numbers that we can't account for. We have no idea who it is. And that's kind of fun. I'd like to think it's someone sitting at home, like plotting our murder as they cut their hand with a dull knife, like soon. And, it's like that kind of thing. We're like, is there somebody outside, like, looking at me through the trees?
Well, we all know who I hope it is for me. Sweet Jody.
Sweet Jody Arias, yes.
But I don't know who it would be for you. If you had to pick
someone
your
to kill me
/murderer, who would it be? Guy or a girl?
It'd be Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum?
Oh, yeah.
Show your work.
Who wouldn't want to be stalked by Channing Tatum? I feel like at first he slowly ingratiates himself into your life, though, because he wants to be your buddy. That's how he gets close to you. Hey, man, what's going on? I'm Channing Tatum. Look at my hot wife. This is pretty cool. Oh, wow. He seems like he's going to help me out, like maybe get us, a little bit more viewership, get me involved in the entertainment world. And then he just stabs me 37 times in the back with a knife. Like, I'm sitting there making pasta one night. Like, oh, Channing, what a fun day of volleyball with
or
the people.
marinara?
Yeah, and he just, oh, God. And this is because I love you so much.
I chose the marinara.
And he just stabs me to death.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah.
I do
While
have to stop
singing,
you,
like,
though.
something from the 90s, like, unbreak my heart, say you love me again.
Good call with
Shut
the
up.
Tony Braxton.
Shut up, stop talking. And he just really goes at it. I am basically a pile of goop because he's a strong-looking fella,
Wow.
Yeah.
He's got a little dad bod going.
Maybe at first he hits me with the meat tenderizer, or there's also some steak involved that night. I'm just like, I've got the pasta, and he just gives me a real good crack upside the head.
Well, and like, how much of it do you want to feel?
He doesn't want me to feel a ton because, again, he loves me. So he just knows that, like, in order for us to be together forever, he needs to kill me and consume my heart. And then we'll be together. Oh, yeah, this is a little bit of cannibalism, too.
Okay.
He is eating me afterwards.
He keeps your, like, toe knuckles in a little pouch around his neck, like Sir Davos.
Sir Davos, yeah. This is so he's with me forever. And
He's
I'm
a Krabbelson.
reminded. And then, obviously, it's pretty quick for the police. They're like, who's new in this guy's life? Oh, it's probably Channing Tatum. He's covered in all that blood.
Yeah, he's wearing a plastic poncho that he's naked underneath, and he's just saturated in blood.
Yeah. Well, they just find him out back barbecuing one of my legs. Like, love will keep us together.
Army Hammer's there drinking lemonade, being like, great party, Channing.
Exactly.
It's a girl we're eating, right? He's like, yes, a girl.
As he burns off a little extra of the leg hair.
There's some real feminine calves on the grill.
Yeah, so that's probably it. Probably Channing Tatum.
I like that.
I feel like that'd be a good murder.
I agree. I have nothing to add, except I do have a thing. Did he marry someone else?
Maybe.
Because he was married for a while to Jenna Dewan, who was
She's a professional dancer. Or
a
something,
professional dancer, and
Yeah.
she was ridiculously hot. Not fat enough for me, but ridiculously
Whatever,
hot.
I'll take what I can get. I guess I'd date her.
They did an episode of she and Channing Tatum did an episode of this show that was on for a while that my parents watched because they only consume reality TV.
Nerds.
And it was God, what was it? It was like some lip sync competition, and he did something where he did Let It Go in drag because they had 2 young daughters.
I saw that.
And then she did Pony.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in sweatpants and a wife beater and a baseball hat because she was doing a Magic Mike thing.
Yes.
She like sat on his lap and pulled his crank and like she was like drilling stuff.
Technical term. That's a medical term, guys. Crank.
His crank. His
crank.
medical crank. She's like, this is where my daughters came from. Did something just happen?
Oh, I thought I heard somebody.
I think it was just the mini fridge.
Someone's sneaking about listening. That's Channing.
It was young Channing.
He's just hanging out over there. This is a great episode.
Who's behind the door, Jody or Channing?
Just bursts in wielding knives. Like, fuck, it's real. It's
Holy
all
shit,
real.
it's both of them. They teamed up.
This is the universe. This is the universe where that happens today. Because again, if Infinite is real, somewhere out there, I'm getting stabbed by Channing Tatum right now while I make pasta.
And they just sit in our gore and finish the podcast.
Yeah. That's really funny, Jody.
What was your favorite part about stabbing the love of your life to death?
Yeah, I got a feeling that she probably would be the greatest podcast guest. But for murder, it's fine.
Probably not.
Yeah. A+ murder, C+ entertainer.
Yeah. Oh,
Channing carries that. He carries that episode.
Yeah, I think he makes that entertaining. Exactly.
Yeah.
Goddamn. I'm just depressed because I'm never gonna get stabbed by Jody.
I mean, again, just like I said, feel better knowing that somewhere out there in the vast infinite universe, some version of you did.
I need the version of me that invented interdimensional travel to come here and be like, come with me and you'll see what it's like to be stabbed by Jody Arias in the neck.
It's fun for a second, and then you
a
realize this
knife.
is real. Yeah. oh, this is all real.
Oh my God, dude. I would come in my pants the second she stabbed me in the throat.
And again, that's the one, you bring up a good point. That's the one real big argument against like multidimensionalism, because somewhere out there, there's got to be some version of you traveling the infinite between the realms. And of course, maybe the answer then is that the universe is so infinite, the chance of them finding us in this version is essentially zero. And that's why.
It's possible. They're spending an eternity jumping, because you got to figure.
And maybe that's what happens to missing persons.
Maybe they get collected by their alternate self.
Come, we've got to go stop the darkness in the zero realm. And you're like, what? And they just pull you into a thing.
The giant rapist hamster wars.
Yeah, just, hey, man, maybe they exist.
Yeah, just an army of Klumps versus... Yeah. Can you imagine?
Hercules, as they just run down a field, all wielding swords and spears. It's also very medieval.
Yeah.
And the gerbils have
battle
laser
between
weapons.
Giant hamsters with laser weapons and the Klumps with like stones and spears.
I'd like to think that they shoot lasers from their eyes.
That'd be kind of cool.
They're a little bit magic. Because again, magic has to exist too.
Theoretically.
Mm-hmm. Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Some dude just in the corner. I'd like to think he gets killed pretty quickly.
We don't know how he got here.
No. A version of myself brought me through so I could throw tennis balls on the pitched battle.
A lady hamster just sits on him and he vanishes inside her little pocket vagina.
Oh, that's a beautiful thought. Again, everything is real. Start thinking of weird shit, people, and then ponder whether or not you think it exists somewhere out there in the infinite.
Listen, anything you can imagine, there are two possibilities. There's a universe where it's happening, and in this universe, someone's jerking off to it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Which is kind of cool.
Well, I always found that fascinating. The most interesting part of it is like all of our ideas, like Stranger Things and The Office, and that there's got if this is true, somewhere out there that shit's happening. So maybe people aren't really creative; they're just somehow tapping into things that are occurring in real time. But then also, it doesn't necessarily have to be real time, because if infinite exists, that's happening in every second, every millisecond. There's a version of it happening right now, on and on and on.
That's a theory. I mean, it was advanced by two dumb guys that do mushrooms, Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell.
Yeah.
But I think it was Duncan Trussell was talking about, like, some people think that creativity is you picking up signals from a different reality where this shit is actually happening. I mean, would rather be a genius.
I'd rather be creative, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe it's both. You never know. Maybe. Because if that's really what the deal is, then how come everybody's not doing it?
Yeah, maybe genius is just being tapped into that.
Yeah. You never know. You just understand the math of the great universe.
Yes.
You're not that smart, Einstein. You weren't that special.
You got all your ideas from a smart guy in another dimension, you fuck.
I'd feel bad if I was Einstein. Like, he did all this stuff, and he fled the Nazis, and then afterwards, the United States was like, we're going to take those scientists. We're going to take all of them. We're just going to take thousands of people who were Nazi collaborators and go, you probably have some good data. How about we skip the Nuremberg trials and you just hop on a boat over?
Are you sure? I shot a child in the face.
Dude, we
ate his body.
Who was it? The most fucked up one was Shiro Ishii, right? He was the guy who ran Unit 731 out of Japan, where they were like, they made what the Nazis were doing seem tame because they were like vivisecting people.
Yeah.
Like, well, they would, like, if you've seen Snowpiercer, like when they freeze the dude's arm and then they shatter it, like, think about that, except instead of shattering the arm, they just let it melt. And so you're just there dealing with it as your arm was frozen by these fucked up people, and then they just let it thaw so they could check you at intervals, and then they come over and just poke you with needles and shit to test your pain sense and level, and you're just fucking agonizing.
You're in agony. It's not like,
Well, they'd give someone a liver disease, and then they would cut the section so they could see the liver. They wouldn't take it out of you, and they would do that, and then they'd patch you back up, and then they'd wait a little while, and then they'd open that spot up again. This is why you're alive. They're not giving people anesthetic. You're awake, and they're doing that until you die. That's Unit 731, and we took that dude, and we're like, I bet he's got some really interesting information. And I'm pretty sure a lot of what we learned about frostbite and that sort of stuff didn't actually come from him or any of his research. It was mostly just the biowarfare shit. Mm-hmm. Like, he had a really interesting, just because I'm fascinated by this horrible, horrifying stuff.
Of course you are.
He, so 2 weeks after the Japanese surrendered to the United States, or to the Allies, I guess would be more accurate, they had this operation that Shiro Ishii was spearheading based on the research they'd done at Unit 731, which is a lot of biological warfare, plague, and various, highly infectious diseases. And so Operation Cherry Blossoms in the Night was very much like it was like a kamikaze run kind of. They had they were going to have a fleet of one-person manned these little shit submarines, right? And they were going to have these people go across the ocean to the west coast, and basically they had fleas and various insects in these little containers, and they had Chinese lanterns, and they were just going to set them off so that these things floated over the mainland, and they would fall and they would break eventually, and they were just going to release plague across the entire west coast as a soft invasion. And then in a couple weeks after that was the that front's plan
Boots on the ground
to
after they've been
invade.
decimated,
They were going to invade after that, and they didn't because they surrendered, obviously. And that doesn't say anything in terms of like, were the nukes necessary and all of that? Would it have slowed down when they've surrendered anyways? Because everyone knows that's kind of where the trend was going. It was more just setting the precedent of like, look what we can do. Maybe no one should fuck with us for a while. But I always found that horribly fascinating in a terrible way. And they did shit like that all the time, where they would do the same thing, but they would make these little Chinese lantern bombs. Basically, they would send across. They were trying to light forest fires, and in a couple of cases, they were actually successful.
Can you imagine? You're just someone, you're like, oh, someone just got married. And they sent their love up into the Jesus fucking Christ,
setting a fire, and they just I'm pretty sure it was like in the Washington forest or Oregon or somewhere like that, and it was not particularly successful, obviously. But it's just interesting, like years later, somebody will be in Alaska and they'll go, we found an old Nazi listening post up here in the hills. Like, what the fuck? And like shit like that just comes out later, I find super fascinating in a sort of horrible, fucked up sort of way.
Oh, yeah. Thinking about like fascists in other countries, like the fact that like Lindbergh was like, that Adolf Hitler's got some interesting ideas.
Well, I remember I wanted to have a hard conversation with one of my bosses when I used to work in Boston, because every time I walked into his office, I saw his quote on the wall from Ford.
Ugh.
And I was like, do you know that he got the highest honor that the Nazis give to civilians? It's not the Iron Cross, but it's like the something of there's some specific name for it. And there's pictures of Ford with a Model T and Hitler's looking at it like, ooh, that's very interesting.
Yes, this is nice.
Because Ford used to say all kinds of anti-Semitic shit.
Yeah.
He was a huge anti-Semite, and Ford is still around. People still out there driving their
Built
Fords.
Ford tough.
Exactly. And I'm sitting there like, did we forget that in the same way we forgot that like Bayer sent HIV-infected vaccines to Africa and perpetuated the issue that still exists today?
Should anyone be surprised? I mean, the fucking United States government flooded the inner cities with crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing surprises
And that's
me.
a fucking... Like, people don't know that. They don't believe it. When they see, like, things about it now, like, a really great show is Snow on Hulu.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's really good. And it's very much about that, how the CIA, like, was doing that and, them funding the Contras and all of that to spread democracy, and how it was being paid for by cocaine trafficking to the inner cities. And people look at that and they think it's fiction. They don't think it's real. They don't think that shit actually happened. And you go,
it's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah. And they go, well, our government's out for us. But yeah, sure. Our government is out for our best interest. Just ask Ollie North,
Dude, my dad is a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, and he will tell you that the CIA flooded the inner cities with crack.
Yeah, we did awful stuff.
It's fucking obvious.
And it makes me really sad now, because you look at that, you look at like Tuskegee,
Ugh.
and people ask themselves, like, why wouldn't people get the vaccine? I hate to make it about that, because I'm getting the vaccine, obviously, and I know plenty of people are. I can still understand why people distrust it, though.
I do understand
really
where they're coming from. I do.
I think it goes too far when people are like, yeah, because Bill Gates is putting he's putting a microchip in the vaccine to track you guys. That's based off this really old, shitty, debunked theory, because he was trying to help develop vaccines in third world countries, and it was supposed to be a marker that allowed future physicians to see whether or not somebody had been vaccinated, and it was to make it possible for you to see whatever their scheduling was and all of that through this like very small marker.
You're just tagged like an animal.
Yeah,
like a sheep.
Kind of, but also not in a way that's like a geolocation sort of thing. It's just a way of being like, okay, well, we can draw some blood and see what vaccines you have, because you don't know and there's no medical history in this country. It was really him trying to do a solid. And now you have conspiracy theorists sitting around being like, Bill Gates wants to microchip everybody. Okay, but which is it? Was the vaccine rushed and it's dangerous, or has it been a long-term plot by Bill Gates to microchip people? Because I guarantee you it's one or the other.
It can't be both.
It can't be both. The timeline does not fucking fit.
Also, again, it's the easiest thing to point to, but you are already microchipped. It is called your cellular phone.
Yes, of course. You don't everybody who noticed the Snowden whole thing that happened. A big thing that came out was like, yeah, we can turn on your phones. We can look through your cameras. If your battery's still connected, your phone can be off. We can access your shit. It can look like it's still off, and we can use your stuff. You don't think the government has the ability to make it so that the red light doesn't come on your microphone or your camera? Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, they learned that shit. I learned that full well from when the Stuxnet thing was happening, which is where we went into undermine the Iranian nuclear program. And the whole goal was just this program that most of the people listening at some point might have flown through your computer. It literally spread like crazy. And it was the sort of thing that your computer wasn't going to tell you it was there. It wasn't going to do any damage. Its whole purpose was to get onto a USB disk that was walked physically into the Iranian nuclear facilities and connected to one of their computers. All it did was it sent high-speed signals to their centrifuges to destroy them while sending a signal back to the main computer saying everything's fine. So when their enrichment process failed and they ended up wasting billions of dollars, they could never figure out what the issue was until eventually they became privy to Stuxnet and they figured out what was going on. And that's not really what I was talking about. The point is that somebody took the Stuxnet virus and created a virus called Dooku from it. And Dooku basically took the spreading capability of Stuxnet and added it as like a master program for taking remote control of people's computers. You can get their access to their information. Anything they do can be seen. It logs their keystrokes. It does everything. And that got spread around. And that stuff is the kind of stuff that is just in the standard toolkit of governments nowadays.
Oh my God, it's in like marketing companies. When I was in marketing,
Yeah.
they were like, we can heat map a website and show what people click on and where they scroll and how much time they spend. And it's like,
Yep.
if some dickhead in Silicon Valley can do this to help me sell education
Sure.
to fucking dum-dums,
Yeah.
then what can the government do?
I mean, they're sitting up somewhere like setting the mirror angle on a satellite so they can see your ass crack while you take a shit if they want to. Just through that sliver in your fucking the crack in your blinds on your window. Like, they're looking through that.
See, that's how we beat the government at its own game. We staff the NSA with only perverts.
Well, don't get me wrong, man. The NSA and the CIA and our government is way fucking behind China now, and way fucking behind Russia, and way behind a lot of other countries. And the reason is because our government doesn't hire stoners. It sounds stupid. It sounds like you're like, that's fucking ridiculous. But some of the best hackers in the world smoke lots and lots of weed, and our government won't let anyone work for it if they can't pass a drug test that's a year in length because of hair sampling.
But there again, we talk about our country was absolutely fine with bringing the Nazis over and having them build rockets, but we're not going to let fucking potheads with white guys with dreadlocks come in and teach you how to fucking hack the Chinese government.
Yeah, and well, it's ridiculous because people sit there and they roll their eyes at those kind of conversations, and you sit there and go, our NASA wouldn't be what it is today if it hadn't been for the Nazis. That's a sad, depressing statement, but Werner von Braun came over, and he's the person who gave us the rocket technology that got us to the moon.
Space program.
And he's also the guy who developed the V2 rocket for the Nazis. It's the same thing that was blitzkrieging the shit out of France and England. They were bombing the hell out of them. I mean, everyone knows like the pictures of those big like rail-based artillery guns. But the V2 rocket was a big fucking problem, and that was Werner von Braun all the fucking way. And we looked at him and said, help us get to the moon. Help us beat the Ruskies into space. And we brought him the fuck over.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it was about beating the next enemy. And I to double back to the Ford thing, this is horrible, but it's kind of I think it would be hilarious if in all Ford trucks, it's just got this sensor where you get and you sit in and it's like, it's very dry in here. It just has a built-in ejector seat.
Oh,
you can't
Jesus.
be Jewish and drive a Ford. It just shoots you out the roof.
Yeah, there's just like a little compartment. If you hit it, you just see the fucking eagle. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I think we made Henry proud.
What if that was secretly a thing, like on the inside of all of their like transmissions is stamped the fucking Nazi eagle or
Just
some shit?
blood and soil is written in the user manual.
Like, Jesus Christ. How do we not find this one during the last emissions test, guys?
Oh, man.
It's one of those things that you think about, too. It's just so much of that. And I get the rationale from our government. We need to take these people so that other countries don't.
Yeah, because anyone would do it.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make it right. But
Of course not.
I thought you were going to say, I can understand anti-Semitism.
Listen, in light of everything that's going on in Israel, like, nope, not making that statement.
Yeah.
Nope.
How are we doing on time?
We're about 48 minutes. We got about 10 more minutes of rambling.
Okay.
10 more minutes of inane nonsense.
Yeah, of course.
Talking about the Klumps. And then we went into being like, it's a very interesting historical context with World War II. But that's why people love this show, I'd like to think.
It's pretty cool that the Nazis would just give children a blood eagle and poke them in their little lungs as they died.
Now, why don't you explain the blood eagle to people then if you're going to bring that up?
I think we have before, haven't we?
It's where you spread the ribs from the backside and you pull their organs out to make wings and an eagle.
You crack open the ribs, they spring open, you yank out the lungs, and they look like little bloody wings. And eventually your diaphragm can no longer take air in and out of your lungs and you just suffocate.
Yep. And now remember, guys, if during the process of the blood eagle, if you scream, you don't get entrance to Valhalla.
Yep.
It's very important when somebody does the blood eagle to you that you do not scream during the process. Little wincing, whimpering, that kind of thing.
Bite down on a wallet.
Yep. That's all fine. Go like that. But if you end up screaming, no Valhalla for you.
No, you have to growl.
Yeah.
You have to grunt like it's a hard shit.
Yeah.
Anything above hard shit, you're out.
Just imagine being the dude who pissed off, the leader that bad was like, I'm going to blood eagle your ass. Like, everybody else gets chopped with an axe. You're getting blood eagled.
But just imagine the person that came up with it. They just get so pissed off, they cut a guy open and pull his lungs out. And they're like, kind of looks like wings.
Yeah, kind of looks like an eagle.
I should call it a blood eagle.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as like the fucking, what is it? The bronze bull or what's it called?
The brazen bull.
The brazen bull. Thank you. Like
we talked about that last episode.
Yeah, exactly.
You just turn into goo. They put you in a giant bowl. They light the fire underneath it, and you just liquefy.
But of course, the favorite is always and will be scaphism.
Oh, flipping the boat covered in honey.
The boat.
Fessies and milk.
Well, dude, that's just such an awful thing to think about because you imagine how many days it would take to die from insects eating you.
Mm-hmm. It's no being stabbed in the neck by Jodi Arias in your sleep, I'll tell you that.
It's no getting stabbed to death by Channing Tatum while he tells me that he loves me so much.
Well, he eats your testicles, so you're always in his heart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, why are you going to waste them Rocky Mountain oysters?
No, fuck that. Dude eggs, baby.
That's a delicacy out there in the Midwest for some reason. Learned that one from the Native Americans. Waste not, they said.
Army Hammer's just eating Rory jerky by the pound.
Some dude over there just eating a hoof, just grinding.
I didn't plan this right. You know what else I really want to do?
What?
I want to get super roided out.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I want to be like a fucking monster.
Say goodbye to your balls.
That's fine. Well, I'm not using them anyway.
Oh.
Because that's the irony.
You're gonna use them less later. It reminds me of was it Bedazzled with isn't that what it was?
I think so. With Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley.
Exactly. Thank you. I was like, I'm spacing
I never
on
actually
Brendan
saw
Fraser.
that movie. I just remember her in the red bikini with the snake, and everyone was pretty big on Elizabeth Hurley at the time.
She was looking pretty great in that movie.
She still does at like 55.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. I mean, again, she's got a lot of money. It's amazing what beauty products do these days.
I also don't
really
think she ever had a
rejuvenate,
child. So.
Exfoliates the skin. Makes a 50-year-old woman look like she's 30.
Yeah.
35.
That's all you have to do.
40. Whatever.
You could buy Noxema. You'll look like Elizabeth Hurley. Go do it.
Nice. Get that really sheeny forehead that some people have. I go, Jesus.
What's stopping you? I love how women are like, men, what's stopping you from looking like this? And it's just Idris Elba.
Steroids. Steroids are stopping me from looking like that.
Which is my point.
Yeah. But no, the point being is there was one scene in Bedazzled where he's a basketball player. He's an absolute fucking moron. And the love interest is the reporter in the locker room with him. And he she's really interested. And he takes off his towel and he's just got a micro penis. He's got a tiny little baby. He's like, oh shit. Oh no. Oh geez. And like, cause he hasn't seen it. And it just reminds me of that. Like that's your future. It's just, you're gonna have a tiny little roid penis. And lime green eyes like Mark McGuire back before they figured out the recipe.
Yeah. Well, you know.
He's in a red blood America. He ain't on no juice.
We got leftover Werner Braun steroids.
Yeah, those are contacts. All
But
right, ask him to take them out.
The thing is, your testicles shrink. Your dick stays the same. And small potatoes make the steak look bigger, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe until they're gone.
That's okay. Again, I'm not using them for anything. And the steroids will do for me what testosterone never could.
And they just shrivel up into little raisins.
And like, I don't know. Yeah, I just want to be like 5% body fat, just uncomfortably jacked. Can't put my arms over my head or reach behind my back, and just a continent of back knee. Just horrible. I take my shirt off and people are like, we'll pay We will pay you money to wrap yourself in a tarp and never do that again.
Jesus, it's so craggy.
Your back
maybe.
looks like Edward James Olmos' face.
Someone's just like, excuse me, sir. And you just rip them in half like a phone book.
Stop looking at me.
You're just going to be like the mountain.
I can't come.
Yeah. But you'll have like a really attractive wife and
That I can't do anything with.
But she'll just deal with it because at this point you've got a movie deal.
Yeah, she'll be like, you got 2 fingers, don't you?
Great. That's so beautiful. What love.
Yeah.
I
the
think
women that listen to this show are getting everything they wanted.
they're
from
not
this
listening
episode.
anymore. They left. They left back at the Klumps getting in the gerbil rape.
The hamster, right?
Yeah, hamster, sorry.
Yeah, gerbils have tails, Rory.
Gotta be specific.
And not to brag or anything, but my sister killed 2 gerbils in one day.
Not to toot my sister's horn, but toot.
She drowned them.
Didn't know. She thought she was watering them. Apparently gerbils don't get watered.
She was a child.
Oh, and she drowned them?
She drowned them on accident. Air quotes on accident. I have my suspicions.
She was trying to play James Bond with him.
Yeah.
How will you get out of this one, Mr. Bond?
Do you expect me to talk?
As she waterboards these fucking tiny little rodents.
She just puts them in an athletic sock and dunks it in the toilet.
Plunk, plunk, plunk.
She also took our kitten once and stuffed it in a Pringles can and rolled it under my bed. And I'm like, when did you... Thank God we had another game going, which was we had a Natalie Imbruglia CD. And we both were like, we're pretty young, but we're not too young to know that Natalie Imbruglia fucking sucks.
Okay, well, good. I was going to say, a lot of who you are now is making a lot more sense based on these stories from your childhood.
Yeah, and the game was I'd throw the Natalie Imbruglia CD under her bed. She'd find it and go, fuck you, asshole, and put it under mine. So I was like, I feel like the CD's under my bed because I would check hers and be like, it's not under hers.
Also, your sister torturing small animals, I'm not saying I'm surprised because I'm
I
not.
don't think you can be.
Yeah, I'm not.
And like she has 2 cats now, and she loves them so much that they're obese.
Yeah, again, she's going to stab them to death like Channing Tatum because she loves them so much.
She's just gonna squeeze the goo out of them at some point.
I care about you so much. I can't take care of you now that the apocalypse is coming. I also think she's a prepper.
You think so?
She's
I
doomsday.
don't think she's prepared for anything in her life.
She got her bug out bag. She's just ready for it.
It's just full of M&Ms.
All of them unbagged.
M&Ms and a handgun.
But she didn't like store them right. She put them in the attic, so it's just a block of like melted and then resolidified chocolate.
Colorful chocolate. Chris Christie finds her and he's like, just give me the bag and walk away.
It's just the one day the world really does end. She's just sitting outside of the city while missiles rain down, just scooping chocolate chunks into her mouth. I knew it.
I'm gonna need energy to fire off my gun at looters.
So, excuse me, can you give me directions? She just caps him. No, this is my stuff.
Hey, do you want to join us? We'll share all our resources. Blah, blah,
I
blah.
just see your sister as like a mountain folk with like the pots and pans hung on the back of her big rucksack.
Dude, she doesn't vote. There's no way she would ever doomsday prep.
She's playing her harmonica. She walks up the fucking Appalachian Trail. Polly Wally Doodle all the day. For some reason, she just goes right back to the old folk stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you hit her in the head, that's your best chance at getting her to do that. Because otherwise, she's not thinking past right now.
Oh, the old Fred Flintstone method. She becomes someone else.
Was that a thing Fred Flintstone popularized?
It wasn't that he popularized it. Is that there was a bunch of episodes where his bowling ball would roll off the high shelf and hit him in the head, and he'd become like a race car driver or a mobster or some random thing.
And then he got CTE.
And then the only thing that would bring him back was another bonk to the head. See, this is probably what caused a lot of head trauma among youth, is they would just like, I'm going to turn you into someone more interesting, Cletus, and they just 2x4 him in the back. Probably a lot of shovels.
You're going to college, and you just hit your kid in the head with a 2x4.
Well, I mean, there's those weird situations where like the guy would get head trauma and he'd come out and be a piano player.
Speak with an Italian accent.
Exactly. He would just know a language or some random thing like that. So there's always the possibility. But I also don't recommend that you guys smack yourselves in the head with 2x4s. Unless you want to. I mean, I'm not your mom.
I'm not telling you to do it, but if you want to try it, please do let us know what the results
Just
are.
get it on film. Just make sure to get it on camera. You're going to get tens of likes. That's the kind of thing that could land you $20 on Instagram for the ad revenue. They're going to pass that on to you. They're going to pass it on, I promise.
That's something I've always wanted to do on Instagram, the self-harm challenge. You just got people like smacking their hands down on a nail or like throwing themselves down the stairs.
This is self-paid child. I'm trying to raise money for spina bifida. Rips off a nail.
How many likes did I get?
13.
14.
Yeah. Awesome. That's like 6 more than I usually get. Just
I feel
vomits.
so seen.
Yeah. Ripping off a fingernail, man. Oof. I had a fingernail come off once, but it's because my finger got run over by an ice skate when I was in 6th grade. Crushed the bone in my finger pretty good. And the front nail got split up. So they had to pull my fingernail off and then pull all these little bits of nail from that like soft skin underneath the nail.
Yeah.
And then they had to slide it back on. Now, you're really afraid of needles. Like I really am. Like I'm terrified. I'm getting my COVID shot Tuesday. So by the time y'all hear this, I'll be very, very unwell somewhere.
Did you get Moderna or Pfizer?
Moderna.
Oh, well, welcome to hell.
Yeah, and I also got sick, so I'm going to get my ass kicked, which I know it's coming. I'm just going to lie on my couch all day and sleep.
It was bad, dude. I went to work that day.
Yeah, why would you do that?
My dad was like, well, you still got a shift. And I'm just sweating
fuck
with my
you.
hair plastered to my face.
That sounds so much like your dad. It makes me sad, though.
Fuck
off.
I looked like I was going through withdrawals.
Yeah.
Bad.
That's such bullshit, though. That's such a shitty thing to do.
Well.
Fuck that guy. No, it's But... yeah, no, so I'm ready for it. But I'm, again, so scared of needles when that happened to my finger. They did all the things wrong for a kid. Like, they had, like, the silver plate with, like, the instruments on it, and they, like, walked over, and it was these 2 tiny little needles. Because what they were going to do is, like, the webbing in between my fingers, they were going to give me a shot on both sides. One on one side, one on the other. And I was like, nope, you're not doing that to me. And so, for some reason, they listened to the 12-year-old kid. And they did the entire thing, reset my bone and all, with no Novocaine or anything. Totally straight, except for the adrenaline. I have never in my life gone through a more painful process.
That's pretty metal, Rory.
Than like having the little shards of my nail pulled out from the underskin below it, and then having them put the nail back on and make sure that my finger was set, x-rays and all the little things they had to do. By the end of it, dude, I was fucking feeling it.
I'm sure. That's pretty fucking metal. How did you turn out to be the person you are?
I don't know. I think that was the trauma from it, maybe. Eventually I was just like, I don't ever want to have to be in that situation again. So instead of going out to ice skate next time, I'm just going to stay home and watch Cory and Topanga's wedding on Boy Meets World on the Disney Channel.
Rory's just packing his wounds with gunpowder and setting it on fire.
I mean, somewhere there's a version of me out there where I got hardened by this and ended up like a sniper hanging out in the Ukraine, picking off Chechens. Like, yes, I am warm and just like sitting in my little poncho, eating squirrels that pass by, crunching. Yeah.
Thinking about some Hilton cocktail waitress that you knocked up.
Fucking snake eater out in the boonies.
Yeah. Did I tell you I used to work at a military college and apparently snake eater is a slur to them?
Fuck off.
And I said nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, just like Karen's a slur, you fucking douchebags.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Or something like that.
Like,
honky.
Oh no, you're upset that people came up with a terminology for the fact that you're a highly trained murderer?
Yeah, you can literally make food out of everything around you.
Like, you're that guy who crawls on his stomach 3 days through the brush so that you can get that shot off on that guy?
Yeah, listen, if the nickname for Special Forces was Kid Fucker, you've got an argument.
I'd be like, oh, Snake Eater upsets you? Okay, murderer. And you just walk away. Like, is that better? Is it better if I call you a murderer? Because you are.
Yeah, okay, instrument of death for the state.
The government's not spending $50 million to train a Green Beret so that we can call you like a My Little Pony nickname or something. Like, fuck off, dude. If you didn't want to you should have petitioned for Metal Gear Solid not to name that particular game Snake Eater once, because it's in my head forever. Snake Eater! Yeah, no.
This is the same people that got mad at me because I had Cobra, the organization from G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny to put a Cobra magnet on my little cabinet. Just a little piece of flair to express myself. And they said, you can't display paraphernalia from a terrorist organization.
I was like, are you guys... I wouldn't even have been like, are you guys serious? I would have been like, are you guys fucking stupid?
I was like, are you talking about the one with the guy that has a metal head?
This is what you do. You go to them and go, okay, I'll agree that Cobra's a terrorist organization if you can point to any of the old shows where they killed anybody.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah,
Community.
They did some episodes, or they did those movies, and those movies were like the reboot.
Yeah.
But go ahead and show me in the classic cartoon that time that, they had to hold a funeral for Quick Shot because Cobra murdered the fuck out of them.
Yeah. You've got a guy named like Ricochet, and he's down on his knees, and Cobra Commander's behind him making an ISIS-style video.
Yep.
This is what happens, Joes.
Yeah. Cobra's trying to steal the moon. And you're like, you guys really take that seriously? I would look at them and be like, you're HR. I've been to a lot of companies, and I've talked to a lot of dumb HR people who They make the stupidest, most arbitrary rules they can because they're afraid of the company getting sued.
Here's the kicker. It wasn't even HR. It was the douchebag with the corner office who used to do nothing all day but play with his remote-controlled BB-8 droid.
Yeah, exactly. He had too much time, and he was just finding something to make it seem like he was doing something.
Because he was the only fat adult nerd who knew what Cobra was.
Yeah.
And he blew up my spot. And I know for a fact it was him.
Milk toast motherfucker.
Yeah, fucking douchebag.
I just look and be like, okay, I'm going to HR.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
I'm
not taking it down. You have no case. And my manager was a nice lady. So she's like, well, oh, geez. And she just hemmed and hawed. And I was like, no.
This is
when
fucking
President
ridiculous.
Schneider comes down and fucking tells me, you got to take it off the cabinet.
Yeah, I'd be like, if he grew up as a kid in the fucking time when he did, and he watched cartoons, he's gonna sit there and chuckle over it. Oh, watch out! I'm a Yo Joe. Like P.
Schneid's would not have known
Who gives
what
a
Cobra
shit?
was. This fucking
Nerd douchebag.
asshole, fucking man-child
Remember,
with the BB-8
folks,
droid.
there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. There is everything wrong with being that douchebag who sits there and goes, well, actually, and like tries to correct you on fucking your like knowledge of a willow. Like, fuck off. Get
Yeah.
out of my fucking face, dude.
Wrong Star Trek
Yeah,
episode.
exactly.
Asshole.
Actually, you're talking about Picard, but that was a Deep Space Nine reference, and you just want to punch him in his fucking face.
Dude, there's a difference between being a nerd and being a nerd being your personality.
And also, man, we don't know each other that well.
Yeah, I'm like, you fucking rolling around here with your BB-8 droid. I almost tore my ACL tripping over the fucking thing, and you laughed.
I just desperately, like, they want them to come out with, like, another one where BB-8 was actually a bad guy. Oh, no. And then you're just like, oh, can't have your BB-8 around.
BB-8 had a history of anti-Semitism.
Yeah. I would have loved for if you had to put, like, something Imperial on it, and he tries to fight, and you go, the Empire didn't do anything wrong. The rebels were technically the terrorist organization because the Imperial, the Imperials were order in the universe.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Be like, I'm pretty sure the rebels killed hundreds of thousands of people when they destroyed the Death Star. Regular working folk.
It's that
who were
argument from Clerks.
Yeah.
The independent contractors who built the Death Star.
Yeah. Like,
why did they deserve to die?
Exactly. You had to kill all of them too? I get it. It's a scary thing. But you killed all of them. Innocent people. You think some of them wanted to be there? No. The Empire was making them be there. And you killed them anyways.
But hey, Rey Skywalker's got a yellow lightsaber. Yep.
Guilt by association, huh, you sons of bitches.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, those movies were terrible. Don't get me started.
We probably can't. What time is it?
No, we're done. That's it.
Is that it? What time
We're
at?
at 1-6.
1-6?
Yeah.
Right on the money.
We're killing it. We're so good at this now.
Absolutely.
Did everyone like our rambling movie references this episode? Like, that's every episode, man. Fuck off.
I feel like you guys talked about the Middle East, vivisection, hamster rape, and movies.
Yeah. This
We're
was a
never
good
listening
episode.
again. This was a legitimately great episode.
This was fantastic. If you've stuck around for the number of crazy inane things that we've talked, and you realize that's our wheelhouse, this was a good one.
Yeah, and then I'm sure
good one.
half our fucking douchebag audience is
Let's just take these last couple of seconds to alienate ourselves from our supporters.
That's what I like to do best.
And remember, we're still looking for anybody who wants to potentially give us a new mascot. We're still rocking Alan the Dead Spider. He's been our mascot for about a year. You can find him on our Instagram. And again, if you just send us a picture of something weird and it's good enough, again, we don't want no scrubs. But if so many references
Hanging
today.
out the passenger side.
Yeah. Trying to holler at me? I think not.
Fuck no. Not in this economy.
Not this time.
We made it up.
Yeah. So, so we're still waiting on those. So if you've got that, even if it's like, wow, look, there's this tree stump out back of my house and just take a picture of it, we'll consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be like Ren and Stimpy, log.
Yeah. We'll run with that shit for miles. And I don't know, maybe someone's already sent it in. We're really bad at checking the Gmail.
Oh, I never check it.
Yeah. But still, nonetheless, do it. We'll check it eventually, and hopefully there will be some fun suggestions.
Yeah, 6 months from now, we'll get you guys up to speed.
Just remember, has to come with a picture. Can't just send us an idea, or we'll tell you you're half-stepping, and then we will spend a little bit of time making fun of you.
Yeah, we'll dedicate at least 10 minutes to just shredding your personality and everything you hold dear.
Yeah,
because we know most of you.
Remember when Machado suggested Seventh Heaven was the best theme song of the night? Get out of here!
What the hell?
I'm going to mention that for at least the next 4 episodes.
And it was all pretext to talk about a fucking pedophile.
Yeah.
For shame.
For shame on you.
I don't know what is going on there.
Do you understand the caliber of this show?
This is a respectable podcast. Hamster rape only.
Yeah, we only talk about the Klumps and Hellraiser.
Yeah. This is a Hellraiser pod from now
But we're
on.
also cultured because we mentioned tensions in the Middle East and historical context from World War II.
We covered all the bases.
Operation Paperclip. We talked about that in there.
I wish we could call the episode Operation Paperclip. You got anything you want to plug?
No, just just looking for those mascots.
Okay. Well, until next time, you dum-dums, thank you, go fuck yourselves, and goodbye.